Hey, everybody, welcome back to Jay and Nicole's Learning Lab podcast. Today, we have one of my favorite people. We have Jillian. Jillian is a teacherpreneur coach, and she's going to talk to us today about setting practical goals across our personal and professional lives and maybe some other things. So pay attention, there will be a test. Go ahead, Nicole.
I'm ready.
I don't know if I do we have to have a test? I'm nervous now. Is it multiple choice? Can it be
We
multiple
need a
choice?
test. There must be a
Oh,
test.
there must be a test. All right, you heard it here, you guys. There's going to be a test. So, yeah, today I'm actually pretty excited about this because I've heard a lot about Julian. So this is the first time I've actually met her. So I'm excited about this. But Jay just goes on and on about how awesome you are, and we're excited to have you here to be able to not only help, you know, teachers who are going solo, but also to help us figure out how to balance that work life balance with, working at home, creating your own business. What skills do we need to be able to do this? I think people really get confused on how to do that. So thank you for coming. And why don't you start off by telling us who you are, what you do, how you got there? I don't know. That sounds really good.
Okay. All right. So my name's Jillian. I started doing this. So I'll just way back before I started actually teaching online. I was working as a mail carrier and I was pregnant with my third child. Um, I realized that I couldn't go back to that workforce because U.S. mail carriers are uh, slaves, basically. Really long hours, and there's no saying no. The mail has to get delivered. It doesn't matter if it's 9 o'clock and daycare closed at 6. So I realized that having a nursing child, I was not able to go back to that kind of work, and I needed to figure out something else to do. Fell into online teaching. Fell in love with it. Became a mentor for a company that I don't recommend anymore. And I kind of naturally, so I started doing well teaching online in these companies and was like, hey, I'd like to help other teachers. So they made me a mentor for like 27 cents a day. And I kind of naturally just fell into, yeah, I was paid big bucks to do this, okay? To mentor all the new teachers for this, all the new teachers that were hired every month, like 400 teachers a month. It was big bucks. Which led me to make a YouTube channel so that I didn't have to keep repeating myself for 27 cents a day. I could just put in YouTube links, and then that's kind of where my YouTube channel started. And just I kind of organically fell into coaching because I liked helping other teachers figure it out on the platforms. Um, Learned how to I guess we call it go independent. So learned how to start my own online teaching business, which at one point in time I looked at other people that were doing it like, how are you even doing that, um, and yeah, I just kind of naturally started up. We've got a Facebook group of, I think it's like 58,000 online teachers right now.
Right.
And then Teacher Boss Society, which is a uh, coaching program, a low cost coaching program. I used to offer only high ticket, but I wanted something more affordable so that I could help the teachers that are just getting started and need money, you know, those
Now,
teachers. So yeah, because it's just that there's so many high ticket programs out there for people,
yeah.
and they don't deliver what they promise, and then people kind of get scorned with I'm not saying all high ticket coaching programs don't do that. There are a lot, and then people are scorned with um feeling taken advantage of. So I never wanted to fit into that part. But then I mean, obviously I still teach kids online, um, in and outside of China. Uh, yeah, so that's me.
No, that's great. That's really awesome. I like how you just kind of naturally fell into it. I actually have a couple friends who worked for the post office, so I knew exactly what you were talking about. Out of curiosity, did you have the actual walking routes or did you have the driven route?
I had a walking route. It was I what did I clock it at? 8 miles of walking a day. But it was a really, really long walk, a really long route that I could never get finished in an 8 hour day because they don't they like to put more work on you than is physically possible and make you try to
Do it anyways.
complain about it until like they can approve for it to get shorter. So yeah.
Nice. Sorry, I just found that interesting. I didn't know that.
No, it's okay. I loved it. I've pretty much loved anything I've done in life, actually. Like there's always something good about something, but it's just not a job that is compatible with, being a single mom. At the time, I had my now ex-husband, he was a heroin addict, and that brings me to almost having a fourth child, because that's harder. Being with someone like that is, and no offense, I shouldn't say someone like that, but being in a situation like that with someone who doesn't want to change and keeps
it's
trying
stressful for the whole family. It's stressful on everybody. Yeah.
It's way easier to be a single mom, I'll tell you that right now.
I believe that.
It's
That's your kid's dad. You want to try and hide that from the kids as best you can. All that. It's not easy. That is not easy.
And that's why I had to find something that was, something I could work from home or something, because I couldn't depend on anybody else. There's nobody else that was in my life at the time that I could depend on to pick the kids up from daycare if they were going to keep me until midnight. Slight exaggeration, maybe by 2 hours. There was nobody that I could depend on to stay home with the kids if they were sick, or to even help out with bills if I couldn't work for some reason, So a lot fell on me there, and I had to figure it out. And when I first started teaching on these apps, I thought, there's no way this is going to work. I've tried other online jobs. I had tried an LM job before. I had tried transcription jobs. I was like, you know what? I'm seeing ads on Facebook for this. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to try it. It's not going to work. And I got into it, and I saw other people were actually making it work. And I'm like, well, if they can do it, I can too. And I just let that be I knew nothing about it going into it. I just let that be there is no such thing as failure on here. You have to move forward. You have to make it work. And I did. And a year after I started teaching online, I put in an offer, put in a bid for my house. And then 2-3 months after that, I took the keys and locked my ex-husband out.
You know what? More power to you.
What was
so in the beginning, when you started teaching online, did you set goals for yourself, or were you in like survival mode where you're just taking anything?
I didn't set goals for myself, and I overworked myself, honestly. I had no idea what I was doing. So yeah.
That's the best way.
See, he's the wing it man. See, I'm the planet girl. So I do think there's value in both, and we're learning from each other, and that was kind of how we complement each other, by the way. So we kind of he takes the extreme of me wanting to overplan, and I take the extreme of him wanting to do no planning, and we kind of meet in the middle of it. But having learned what you did, what would you suggest as maybe somebody's exit strategy from the situation they're in to kind of plan getting into the next step, getting into that solo teaching, getting out of those apps?
Okay, so if you're working for a company and you have say you've got a fully booked schedule, don't just leave the company. Make a plan to slowly dwindle it away. So if you're working, say you're working from 6 a.m. till 9 a.m, and you have a fully booked schedule at that company, then I would say when one student drops off, you fill that with a private student, or, don't book your schedule out so far in advance so that you can schedule in your private students. I had that problem before too, where I started working at this one company, Lingo Ace, because somebody had asked me about it and I wanted to see what it was like. And I hadn't worked Beijing time hours in probably a year. So that was something that I cut out of my life. Suddenly I had a fully booked schedule with them. I wasn't anticipating that at all because I just wasn't. And I don't know why I wasn't, but I wasn't. And then I was like, well, I'm already here, Beijing time again, might as well actually get paid what I want to get paid, because I don't want to get like Lingoace and companies like that. They're really good for teachers that are starting out. They're not the best for teachers that have
established
a professional skill set. So I was like, well, as long as I'm already awake and working these hours now and I'm used to it, I'm going to start opening up some Beijing time hours. And my students, because I know how to do social media marketing on Chinese social media, so suddenly I'm getting more student requests for classes than I have spots open. So that's one of the, when you're trying to do that, you need to gauge where you're at and like how many slots you need to have open, whether it be like, I'm going to keep this day, like, maybe Fridays and Saturdays are the busy days for Chinese social media, or for Chinese marketing, for Chinese classes. Sorry. So maybe just take one whole day and start knocking off those slots and filling them with your private students. And then
let's say I'm 25 or 26 years old. I have a year or two teaching experience on one or a couple of these different apps. How do I find that first private student?
What I would highly recommend is you take your experience that you have. Well, first, okay, let me back it up here. The first thing that you need to do is you need to figure out who you want to teach and where you want to teach them. So, get all your systems set up, figure out what you're going to do. And by the way, I have a toolkit for that. I don't know if I can give you links to put on things, but
I can put them in the podcast.
Okay, so I actually have a free toolkit that gives you like a whole bunch of things that you can use to get your business started for free without having to spend a ton of money on like, a pro Zoom account and a pro this account and this and that and this and that when you don't even have any students. That doesn't make any sense. There's a lot of people that want your money, and there's a lot of different directions it could go to, because there's a lot of cool things out there, right? So get all that stuff set up, figure out what you're going to do, figure out your game plan, figure out what social medias you need to go to, figure out I don't like to say niche, because that word has become so watered down that it means nothing.
It's a cliche now. It's a cliche.
Figure out if you could teach one student, who that student is. And if it's a kid, figure out who their mom is. And every single thing that you're posting on your social media is going to be like you're talking to that person. Because when you start doing that and you start talking to that one person, then other people that are like that one person that you want to teach, and it can be a make-believe person too, by the way, but other people that are like that person, they're going to be the ones that are attracted to your account. And then you start bringing in students. And then start using the experiences that you have to push you towards, or to help influence your content. So, for example, one of the things that I will be posting on my accounts here shortly is, in my Chinese accounts, is explaining what an ant is. If anybody is familiar with the Chinese family tree, it is very complicated, and ants are not ants, cousins. Cousins are all sisters or brothers. So I'm going to be making a little short video explaining what that is. I've made videos for my YouTube accounts before, talking about how I don't want you to be afraid to make a mistake. I want you to make mistakes, because that means that you're learning. And just find a struggle that they're having and use that in your social media. It doesn't have to be like, hi, my name is Teacher Jill, I'm from America. And I there's a million, those are
I've been teaching for 10 years.
I mean, you can put that up if you want to. Sure, go for it.
And I have a neutral accent.
I'm a native English speaker. I have my
We
TESOL
all
certificate.
have those video. We all have that video. We all have
It
it, I
doesn't,
think.
I mean, you can put that up because sometimes, especially in the Chinese marketplace, people are going to ask for your intro video because they're
Mhm.
so conditioned to that. So go ahead and put it up if you just want to be able to have a link to, send to them. But that's not, it's not your MO there. That's not how you're going to run your whole account.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
we all have that video because all the Chinese schools have asked us for that video.
Yeah.
So I mean, I understand what you're saying though. Yes, it's the link we give them when they ask for our intro video, which lists all our credentials and everything, but it's not usually the one I actually put on social media.
Yeah, you can have it on social media. It really, most of the time, they're looking to see what your person, like your camera presence and what you sound
Mhm.
like is. So any other video is going to do just as
It's
well.
not
But
it's not wrong to do it. Just don't expect a lot of results from it. Right.
yeah, and have other things up there besides that, something that's helpful to them.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Now, when we've got a fresh new solo teacher that's going independent, what kind of goals should they set? What do you think?
Well, I can't tell them. That's something they have to figure out.
Okay.
So I mean, it depends. A lot's going to depend on where they are and what they want. So I'm working with somebody right now who is she's looking forward to retiring from like a physical tutoring job where she goes to everybody's houses and teaches that way. And she wants to retire. She's been doing this for a while and she wants to retire from that and maybe take on, maybe like have an evergreen course or take on a couple group classes, but not have
Mhm.
a really heavy schedule. She's going to be in a different position than that 25-year-old that you were
Right.
talking about. They want to buy a house and they want to set up for their future. Very, very, very different goals for different people.
But would you ever recommend somebody set financial goals? Or would you recommend setting, like, I guess I would call them process goals?
I would recommend setting financial goals, yes, because you need money
Really?
to survive. Yeah,
I
yeah,
I do them.
absolutely. You
I
do
don't.
too?
Yeah, I always have targets because I know that if I'm not meeting my target, then something is not aligned properly. And I always have a backup system where we won't talk about the backup system. We all know what that word is in the back of our heads, right? We're fielding, if you catch my drift. But you have that backup system that, okay, I haven't hit the target, so I need to do this to hit the target to find out why my main one's not working. I
So we
always
did we did a goal setting. Every year we do a reverse goal planning
Mhm.
session, workshop, I guess. We had almost 300 people that signed up for it this year. We just did it last week too, so you guys just missed it. But in this reverse goal planning session, the very first thing that we do is we figure out where your income's at now. And I like to do it per week, but a lot of people are paid per month. So you can do it per month instead. But you figure out where your income's at now, like per week or per month. And then you figure out where you want it to be able to live the life and have the goals that you want to have. It has, unfortunately, for most of us, it's going to have to be income driven. And if it's not income driven, that's where you're also going to get a lot of teachers who are teaching. And I also have them put on their work hours that they have now and the work hours that they want to have
yeah.
in the future. Because if you don't have that, that's where you have a lot of teachers that end up falling into oh, well, they're saying $5 a class, and I can do that if I just teach more classes. And then they become overworked and underpaid,
Yeah.
or you have, it really makes sense and it helps you figure out what you need in terms of numbers um, to be able to pay your bills and hit the goals that you want to hit.
How important do you think it is to have those goals for your working goals, your going solo goals? How closely do you think those need to be aligned with like personal goals?
Um, well, if your personal goals require money, okay, so if your personal goals are to like lose weight and you just have to go for a walk every day, they don't have to be aligned. But if your personal goal, like for me, was to buy a house, it's got to be pretty closely aligned. You really need to figure it out. If your personal goals require any sort of income, then yeah, it's got to be aligned.
Okay. All right. Very good. Very good. So
I want to
go ahead.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
My question was totally off track. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm
Go
okay
ahead.
with that.
So I was just wondering, in your experience, why do you think a lot of people struggle to maybe stick to the goals that they've set, especially after the New Year's?
There's so many cool things out there and so many cool ideas, and it's really easy to get off track. So it doesn't take very long for life to wave something shiny in our face, and then we're like, ooh, I'm gonna come over here and check that out, and then you forget what's over there.
That's me.
But it's me too. But if you make a roadmap and you follow that roadmap, or at least try to follow, at least write it down and have it somewhere where you can see it, where you're like, okay, this is what I got to do, and this is what I got to do every day, or whatever schedule you set for yourself, then you kind of know, you at least know if you're doing the things that are going to make you on your goal or not on your goal. You at least know, like, okay, well, I already told myself this is what I got to do.
Now, when we set goals, though, me personally, I don't feel that they should be so stringent that we can adjust as we go, if possible. But it almost feels like you're giving yourself a cop out to not finishing a goal if you do that.
So what I do with reverse goal planning is I set the goal. This is where I would have liked to be this year. This is where I want to be next year. Okay. So next year I want to be at, maybe next year at the end of the year, you want to be making $2,000 a week teaching online students, like private students. Okay. So you know that December 31st, you want to be making $2,000 a week. So you move it back a little bit. So maybe in October, you want to be making $1,500 a week.
Right.
Move it back a little bit. In July, I like to give 4 benchmarks there. So you have 4 different benchmarks, and you move it back until maybe your first benchmark is, say, like March, where you're making $200 a week.
Right.
And then when you hit that first date that you set for yourself, you're going to go back and you're going to step forward, or step into it, like look at your goal here and figure out, do I still resonate with this goal? Have I hit this goal? What do I need to change? What's working and what's not working? And how can I use what I have learned in this first benchmark, or this first path to this benchmark, to make sure that I go in the right direction to hit my next goal? So that way you know where you need to go, and then you just work your way backwards until you figure out, like, I need to make $2,500 a week. Okay.
Milestones.
That's going to be my goal with no students. That's going to be my very first goal. Like, get out of here. That's not going to happen. You're going to get overwhelmed and get really stressed out because you're not hitting it.
Well, it just looks, when you're starting at zero, that end goal just looks, it's like you're climbing Mount Everest there.
You need to create milestones.
Yeah. And I think another thing that happens is people will look at it and they'll be like, I can do that. I can do that. Other people are doing it. I can do that. And they just keep telling themselves, well, I still got this amount of time. I can do that. I can do that. And they have no idea. And I've done this myself too. And that's why I do reverse goal planning right now. But they have no idea that they're not even close to where they need to be to hit that goal, until it's like crunch time and it's like November 14th and they look at their calendar and they're like, wait, I wanted to be making $2,500. I just ran the numbers and I only made $800 this week. Like, I
failed.
have I have six. Well, no, you haven't failed yet. You still have 6 weeks, and you think you can crunch it. It's like preparing for that test at the last minute.
Oh.
But it's a lot harder than that, you know? Yeah.
So
Right.
what's a piece of advice you would give someone who's maybe feeling super overwhelmed by setting those goals in the first place, where, I know you said to spread them out, but when you get towards that middle section, I mean, what would you tell somebody who's overwhelmed and they're basically at the point of going, uh-oh.
Well, they need to reassess. If they are, well, that's why every benchmark you're going to stop and you're going to assess what is working, what is not working. And there's also a thing in there, and I have in the workbook for the reverse goal planning workshops that we do. In this workbook, I actually have a section in there. What has been working and what has not been working. If something hasn't been working and you've been doing it for an entire quarter and you've been trying and it's not working, maybe it's working for someone else, but maybe it's time for you to scratch that and focus on the things that have worked for you. Even if they've only worked a little bit, focus on those things that are working a little bit. Don't waste your time and energy on things that are not going to move you in the right direction, even if they are really super cool, right?
That's a
Or
hard one.
somebody else is doing it. Yeah. And
Yeah.
then the other part of that is, what do I need to get better at that I really do want to, and what do I need to learn? And that comes into where it's time to invest in yourself. That's where you should be investing in a coach, investing in services, investing in a coach, investing in a coach. Like I'm not just saying this because I'm a coach. Okay. No, I'm not just saying this because I'm a coach, but really, if you are on a timeline of where you want to learn something, the best way to learn something is to have somebody who has already successfully done it teach you how to do it. And it's the most cost efficient and time efficient way to do it. It's going to, I guess, save you money in the long run because it's going to save you time and headache and stress, but it's going to help you make money faster. So it's kind of
Right.
it's doesn't make
Well,
sense to
I
not
mean,
invest in the
FYI for our audience, even a lot of the top tier coaches have mentors also. So,
Right.
just because you're in the field doesn't mean that if you want to strive to the next level, you find somebody in that next level to teach you how to get there.
Exactly. And that's what you figure out what you need to learn. And if you absolutely don't have a penny to put towards coaching, because I know you're out there, right? You really, really
Shoestring.
cannot afford. I'm not going to tell you, you're going to have some coaches that are going to tell you, go get a credit card,
Oh
finance it. I'm not going to tell you that. I don't want you to go into debt over my coaching services. Okay.
Yeah.
yeah, no.
But if you honestly cannot, there are free options. Go join a free training. I know Nichole probably has them all the time. I have them all the time. You are not obligated to
No.
buy into paid training. Get what you can for free. And actually, don't just like, people will say information is power. It's really not unless you utilize that information. So put it into action. And then um, go on, if you really want to learn something and you want to learn something right now, you go on to YouTube and you watch a YouTube video on how to do it.
I'm
Though
going to put a plug in here for both of you. I have used both of you as coaches, and you're both very good. So check them out,
Oh,
guys.
that's sweet. And the thing that people don't realize too, and you will agree with this, I'm sure 100%. The reason why there's so many coaches is there's so many processes. So, if somebody doesn't work for you, go to somebody else. I
Right.
completely tell people this as well. I'm like, I have a group of coaches I recommend. I'm like, hey, we're not a good fit, but I do think somebody else will be. And here's some people I recommend. Um, Everybody's process is a little bit different. So if you're not finding the person that you want, keep searching. The person's there for you.
yeah,
And
and listen to them before you invest in them. Listen to them and see if what they're saying resonates with you. Because in addition to there's so many coaches out there because there's so many processes. There are also a
Yeah.
handful of coaches out there that are coaches because they can't get students in the first place, and they thought it'd be easier to go after the online teachers.
Yeah.
Um, we've seen them before, and
right.
I'll tell you right now that it's not. It's easier to get students, so just stick there.
Yeah, I would imagine that. I could imagine that for sure. Um, so tell us about your goals. What are some goals that
Mm.
you've set, and how did you go through a refinement process on those goals at all?
I'm not going to
You
talk
don't
about my
you don't
goals.
have no. No secrets. You don't have to give any secrets. No.
Okay. So, I mean, I can tell you like the big goal that I'm really, really proud that I made was buying a house as
Sure.
pretty much as a mom, with 3 kids and a lot of debts. And the way that I did that was I figured out what my goal was, what I needed to put aside for money for both taxes and savings, and figured out the whole process. This is, figured out what I was going to do. So my, started chipping away at credit cards and chipping away at uh, debts, and then chipping away at the debts that I was accrued because me chipping away at debts made me become an enabler, and people could go rent cars for their dealers on their credit cards that I kept that away. So it was a struggle.
But you're not bitter. But you're not bitter.
And I'm not making fun of the disease, but
I
it's
know.
still my part of the, like, I'm not making fun of his part of the story, but it's
I
still
know.
It's still
my
part of
the
your story.
Yeah, that part that was my story was definitely not an easy road to go down. So yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
one of the things, and I mentioned this to you before, one of the things that I took away from your coaching was, and it was a very small statement, but it really hit me a certain way, was don't be afraid to try new things.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you have tried a lot of new things this year. You have a whole family of goats living with you now. What are those
That was
for?
a last year thing. Oh, okay. So you guys, that's what you want to talk about right now. Okay. A
Inquiring
couple,
minds want to know.
yes. So after I bought my house, she's now 10 years old. My daughter said to me, "Mom, we have a barn in the back. I want to get goats or sheep." And I said, "Absolutely not. Goats are trouble and I have no need for sheep." Well, then I had to go get fingerprinted for something, for some like job or training or something that I was doing. I don't even know what it was, but I had to go get fingerprinted, and it was like super early. It was like a certification. I can't remember what it was, but it was like super early before the appointment, and the farm auction was right there. And I was like, "Oh, it's Wednesday. They're open. I'm just going to go in there and just look at the animals because I have nothing better to do in a country town."
Oh,
Don't do
Go
that.
in there. Yes. So I
that
go in
snowballed.
there, and I was like, "Oh, the goats are actually really cute." So I called my mom. I was like, "Mom, tell me not to do this. Tell me not to do this." And my mom's really, really good at not giving me advice. And she was like, "Oh, your mom or my mother had a little lamb when we were growing up." I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" My grandma's name was Mary. I'm like, "Mary had a little lamb." I'm like, yeah. So I came home with a goat and knew nothing about them, and then learned really quickly that you have to have two. You can't have one. So then I got another goat, and um, I I got a goat that was pregnant, and I didn't know she was pregnant. Pretty soon I've got baby goats. I'm out there in the barn. I was like, "I don't have baby goats." Baby goat? Had to like do an emergency birthing procedure there because it was like negative 10 degrees or something. And now I've got goats in my house in diapers and onesies
Oh my
running around.
goodness.
Taking them to Tractor Supply. I'm taking them to the gas station, taking them to PetSmart on leashes. And I just kind of fell in love with like how people reacted to realizing it wasn't a dog. Took them trick or treating. Yeah, they'll just be like walking, and they'll be like,
I've been
That's not a dog. That's a goat." Like their
Has
reaction is great.
hoofs.
So Toasty is the goat that was we had to bring her in the house to get Toasty. That's why her name's Toasty. So she actually went trick-or-treating with us this year, and I dressed her up as a taco.
This story gets better and better, man.
I've so we last year was the year Oh, how did it start? So I can't even lay claim to this. This was not my idea really, but I saw something shared on Facebook where there's somebody, I've made friends with her now and we've talked now. It's always good to have friends in whatever business you're doing. And she was doing these barnyard parties where she would literally pack up her entire like barn like it was Noah's Ark and take two of every animal and like set up a barnyard thing at people's birthday parties and charge for it. And I was like, wait a second, I could do that with my goats.
Ooh.
I was like, huh. I start messaging her, and as I'm messaging her, my boyfriend's on the couch, has no idea. I have not told him that I saw this post or anything. He's on the couch and he's like, hey, what will we charge for a birthday party for the goats? I'm like, why are you asking me? He's like, because somebody just messaged me and asked. I'm like, okay, this is not a service that is really offered. This is not something that exists anywhere in like really anywhere.
I'd never
So
seen it
yeah,
until you did it. I had never heard of it.
yeah. So
I had
I
in
took
my state.
I took my Instagram account that I had monetized. My Instagram account that I had monetized before they took away the monetization on Instagram was Only Goats Farm, like OnlyFans for goats, as a joke, like, let's kind of make a little extra money because your hay is expensive. And I had I turned that into the name of my LLC. I started an LLC, so it's a registered business. And they are Only Goats Farm is now it's now home of the Western New York Party Goats. And my goats travel around. We're not doing it in the wintertime because I don't like driving in the winter. I'm not committing to anything that I'll have to refund and cancel. But Only Goats Farm travels around with the Western New York Party Goats in my car that has Western New York Party Goats plastered all over it because I had to get a cricut or whatever they're called. And we go to birthday parties, we go to school events, we go to fundraisers. We have done goat yoga. There is
Wait, what?
one of my friends, yeah. In a past life, I was also a yoga instructor. So, but we do goat yoga, fully insured and everything because, I don't want something to happen.
It's animals, right?
Yeah,
How
yeah.
do you insure that?
Oh, trust me, it was really hard. Actually, the person that was doing it before me couldn't find insurance. I found it and now she's insured too. So
This is great.
yeah. Um,
But
yeah, it's
the
fun.
so the reason I brought that up is because you actually you you walk the talk, I guess. You walk the talk. You tried something new. And so leading into the hustle culture. So you are a business coach, you're a teacher, you're the goat party person. What else do you do? Tell me something I don't know about you. What else do you do?
Coach, teacher, and farmer, I guess. I'm learning Chinese. You know that though.
Yeah, I know that. Are you a Buffalo Bills fan?
I think I'm obligated to say that.
I'll see you in the Super Bowl. Anyway,
Actually, it looks like they're gonna get there. Looks
yeah,
like they're gonna get
I think it's going to be Buffalo and my team, the Lions.
there.
The
I hate to do
Lions.
this. I know this is super unprofessional, but I just got a text message that my husband's asking to speak to me immediately. So keep talking. I'll be right back.
Okay.
I'm going to mute and
Okay,
turn off my video. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that if you live in Buffalo, like Go Bills is actually like how we say hello to people. So I think
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think we'll be in the Super Bowl together. You beat us this year already. Anyways, now, what do you do when you miss a goal, when you completely fail? What do you do there?
it's
Do
okay.
you
Yeah,
do
you're not
you
gonna kick me
just
for it.
do you just move on, or do you look at it and reassess? Was it
You
even a
that's
realistic
all.
goal?
Yeah, you need to assess it. I mean, if that's a goal that you really want to make, if it's important to you,
Mhm.
you are going to have to take a look at it and say, okay, why didn't I meet this goal and what could I have done differently? And do I need to reevaluate what this goal actually is?
Mhm.
Is it even achievable? If your
Right.
goal is to make $100,000 your very first month of teaching online because you heard somebody tell you that that's possible, yeah, it's possible. Are you going to do it your first month? I highly doubt it. Is it possible
Right.
you could? I suppose anything's possible, but maybe you have somebody out there that's telling you, trying to sell you a program, make $100,000 a month in your first 6 weeks of teaching. And
$10,000 a month.
I
He's
have
out there.
seen
Me
this
too.
exact, yes, I have seen this exact advertisement before. And like, yes, it's possible, but you got to have a certain skill set to get to that. And if
Right.
you don't come anywhere close to where you want to be, then you need to figure out exactly what your goals should be. Like what is
Mhm.
reasonable and realistic and still can put food on the table.
Sure. Sure. Now, with you doing all these different things, how do you, because you're a mom, you have a boyfriend that's another child, I'm sure, as
No, no,
we
no, no,
are.
no,
Men,
absolutely no.
men are
Boyfriend is
children.
No, my boyfriend is amazing. I will give him that. He is amazing. But he's also a truck driver. So
Right.
um I'm still kind of, I don't want to say I'm a single mom because I'm not. And he's there and he's helpful even
Sure.
when even when he's on the road, I can call him up and be like, FaceTime him.
Talk to
Your
him.
kid's not behaving.
Talk
Yeah.
to him. So
Yeah.
how do you avoid burnout, Jillian?
Um, I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't avoid burnout. I do get burnt out. And that's something that I should probably put on my goal board to figure out.
It's on
Um,
mine this year. It is on mine this year because I have went this whole year, well, last year, up until Christmas, I had only taken 4 days off, and two of those days were for moving. And the other two, one was my birthday, and I don't know why I took the other day off. I don't remember, but I've set a, I've blocked a day off now, but I'm still not going to get away from work. I just won't be teaching on that day. But I still won't be able to get away from work because there are other things to do. But so you just kind of grind through the burnout until it just disappears. That's what I do.
no, it doesn't disappear. Okay. So this month I have been doing a lot. I've been doing
I
a lot of
noticed.
a lot of collaborations. I feel like I've been doing a live on YouTube like almost every day.
You're always
Like
on my feed. Right? You're
yes,
always there.
I mean, just in the past week, I have done a free training, a paid training, the regular coaching, the teaching. Well, in addition to everything that I always do, so that do like the free training and the paid
Mhm.
training, um, a YouTube live with Megan from Teachers Together English. This with you
That was
tomorrow.
last night, right? That was
That
last
was
night.
that was like 9 hour
For me, it was
11
last night. Yeah.
yeah, like 11 hours ago.
I
And then
watched that one. It was really good, by the way. It was very
uh
good.
so she's in coaching.
Mhm.
And you know this, but
Yeah,
she's
I
in
know.
coaching. On Thursday at our coaching session, she started to want to know how she wanted to know how to market her new product. And
Mhm.
she started to show me, and I said, stop right there. I already like it. I like to get raw reactions of things. You're not going
Mhm.
to show me this. If you want to come on live, you can show it to me live. Would you like to do that? Because, and I'll help you market your thing too there because I'll show it to my audience, which is your
Mhm.
audience too. Because it was just something that I felt was really, really good. And I don't like to be prepared for lives. For the most
Right.
part, I like to be raw, real emotion.
Spontaneous, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, to answer your question, what happens after I do like a week or two of this is I will have a day where I crash and I don't do anything and I'm lazy. Like I'll like
Nice.
nothing. Yeah.
You have a way out. You have a way out. Um, and I've always believed when you're in a building phase, well, you're not going to have a work-life balance. You're just not going to have it. You just, there are times in our lives where we won't have a work-life balance. I think you probably, you maybe you do. I don't know. What do you think about that? Do you agree with that or not?
Do I have a work-life balance?
No, do you think that there are times where we're not going to have a work-life balance?
There's going to be times there are going to be times where you're going to have to ask your family for forgiveness. Put it that way.
Not for
Like,
permission.
no, for forgiveness. You're going to let them know
Right.
ahead of time. And I remember that even when I started my master's degree, this kind of sticks with me. When I started taking my master's degree,
Oh,
um, they told me like this is going to be work, and you're going to have to let your family know that this is going to be work. Like they told all of us, not just me, but like let
mhm.
your family know ahead of time. This is going to be work. You have to get through this. Um, so let them know ahead of time. And same thing for um there are a couple of different times in life when they said they said something like that, like, oh, the post office. That was another one, but that was a toxic environment. But like they said, like, hey, you want to be in the post office, you let your family know that this is what's going to happen, that you are not going to be home at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock on most days, and you let your
Mhm.
family know, it's going to be like this until you hit regular. The only difference with that is that it's still like that no matter how long you've been in. But
Right.
yeah, but it's kind of always sat with me. Like there's going to be a period of time when you have to grind a little bit more because you're not just building, you're learning how to build. And that takes time too.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
more
you're gonna, yeah.
layers you add on it. Yeah.
I remember
Well,
at one
now,
point I had like 4 jobs at the same time while I was going solo because I was doing that transition, but I had to make sure I paid my bills while I took
right.
on those extra students. And I worked extra hours that I normally didn't work just to cover while I was swapping out the others. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing they don't tell you. They see us, some of us, our when we're kind of getting our end game, they don't see all the steps we took to get there and the struggle and the work and how long it took to get there. People want this instant gratification as well, and they misunderstand how long we worked to get to the level we're at.
I think that if you need somebody in your ear that's going to tell you to step it up and not sleep and do the things that you don't want to do, even though you want to sleep in or you want to do XYZ, I highly recommend following Gary Vaynerchuk. He's going to swear at you, he's going to yell at you, he's going to cuss at you, and he's going to motivate you. So uh, he's somebody that I like to follow. I don't know if you follow him, if you know him, but he yelled at me.
No.
He yelled at me one time in person in front of a whole convention center because I had an appointment and I couldn't stay for his whole thing. And I tried to sneak out the door and he was like, spotlights on me. I got like 30,000 people looking at me. He was like, if you want to be successful, you can't be walking out on stuff like this. What is wrong with you? I'm just like, oh my God. Oh my
That is
God.
so awesome. I'm just like, that's killer. I love that. I'm sorry.
I can picture this too. I can picture this. In
Like,
a long time ago, I got sucked into an Amway convention, and it was like that. It was like that. Oh gosh, I was like 25, I think. It was an awful experience.
nobody is calling you. Give me that. You are supposed to be in bed. Get that down here right now. No, you're gonna bring it down to me right now. Then leave it on the stairs and get back up to bed. You are not supposed to have that in your hands and you're supposed to be in bed.
Is
You're a
that
thorn.
is that my favorite one of your daughters or children?
No, that was Michael.
Oh,
He's 7.
okay. I don't know him
Um,
yet. All right.
yeah.
So now some of the people that listen here, they're parents, not just all teachers. How can the parents work on goal setting behaviors for their kids, or should they even do that with these English classes?
Okay, so you're talking about educational goal setting.
Hmm.
Whew. Okay, so as hard as I was on goal setting for teachers, goal setting for kids, I don't think it's important.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
think it's productive at all. I
I
don't.
don't think well, first of all, I don't think parents should ever set goals for their kids.
Mhm.
If um if a child is not setting the goal for themselves and they're not self-motivated, then they're not going to hit that goal. I mean, if it's something that they have to reach, like their goal is to hit like a, certain number on an exam or something like that. Like, if you want to set that goal, fine. But I think that the most important thing, and I guess it really depends on the education that you have in place for them.
Mhm.
But if you've got a good system in place, it's got to hit a couple of things. First of all, it has to be a good system that actually works, and it has to be something fun that the kid enjoys doing. So if you can hit whatever educational goal that you're trying to set and hit both of those targets, you don't really have to focus on having a goal because the child is going to naturally reach that goal.
It'll
Yeah.
happen. Because I tried to explain to not just parents, but some teachers as well. Teaching, for example, English is not a linear thing. It's not a linear thing at all. We don't have a checklist. There's no checklist to use. That's why we do the same verb tenses every year. That's a weak example, but it's an example because yes, you learned the whatever verb tense, you're going to learn it again, and you're going to learn it again, and you're going to learn it again. There's no checklist. It's not linear. I've really tried to steer parents away from goals. Like passing a KET, for example. Well, that can be a goal. I don't have any problem with that, but I don't have a goal worksheet to give to them when I take on a new student. I listen to what the parent wants, and try to work towards that, but I don't even know how to assess if we reach the goal or not. I don't even know how to assess it.
As a teacher, whether you're a classroom teacher or an online tutor or whatever it might be, you need to be able to have the ability, a good teacher, a quality teacher is going to have the ability to constantly be assessing the student.
Mhm.
You're going to be assessing the student in their homework. You're going to be assessing the student. You're going to be assessing the student the very first time they come and you say, "Hi, my name's Teacher Jill. What's your name?" And you see their response, you see their expression on
Right.
their face. You see if they understand, you see if they don't understand, and you take it from there. Every interaction that you have with that student, unless you're not doing your job, is going to be assessing that student.
Mhm.
So that means that every single time you ask them a question becomes an opportunity for you to figure out what the next step is. You're not just even if you're teaching for a company like Lingoace, you're not just reading from slides. If they're getting it and it's easy and they need to move faster,
Then we move
through
faster.
then you're going to add something more complicated to it.
Mhm.
You're going to add in writing. I like to add writing, and you probably saw my YouTube live. I like to add writing
Yes,
in.
it was great. Again, I
Um,
want to reiterate, it was a really good live.
Thank you. But yeah, like every any teacher should be able to be assessing that student on an ongoing, constant basis, which means that goal setting is not um it's not very important for the kids, like not in the way that we do it in a business way. This is their like life and their childhood.
Mhm.
Um, they can do business stuff later. Right now, they should be learning through fun things. And I mean, if they're older and they're like applying to colleges, okay, that's different. Like they
Right.
can work like little adults, right? But for the majority of like kids, if the parents are asking this, um, no, a good teacher is going to be able to have that under control. And if they realize like, hey, their grades are not so good in class, um, let's figure this out and let's figure out what we need to do to move forward on and get your grades up. Um, I know that if a child in the United States, anyways, they might have something called an individualized education plan, an IEP, and that has goals. But those goals are not even something for the kid to focus on or even know about. They're literally
Right.
just things so that the school can get away with treating them differently to help them reach where they should be. You know what I mean? it's not like they're sitting down and saying, okay, like my daughter, she has an IEP, and
So
one of
did
her
my
goals,
son.
yeah, one of her goals on it was to appropriately greet people in the hall, so she's not jumping on them and hugging on them. And then they're not going to say, okay, let's assess where we're at on this goal today. So far this month you have only hugged 7 people, and that's a good, like, it's, even IEP goals are not goals for the kids to really be involved in that much. It's more
Right.
the process, not the goal, you know.
Sure. So you talked about this reverse goal setting. Is
Mhm.
that your favorite method for setting goals?
It's the only method that I'll use now. Any other method is like throwing spaghetti on the wall. um it's just, yeah.
No, I agree
Okay.
with this one a lot because it's actually something I do with my own students in a way. It's you're taking that bigger goal and you're putting it into smaller, manageable pieces that gets you to the end goal.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, it's the only way that works, because otherwise if you're like, okay, well, I mean, like, anything else is just kind of making things up and not really planning it the right way, you know.
Right. So you set the end goal and then you kind of map out
That's
milestones, I
exactly
guess.
that's
Right.
exact that's
How you
exactly
get
I
from
call them,
point A
yeah,
to
I call
point
them,
B.
yeah, I call them benchmarks or mile markers. But basically, think about it um when you are, okay, I'm going to travel to California. Okay. Maybe I wasn't directionally challenged. I am. But let's say, for example, I'm not directionally challenged, and I know California is that way. I'm making up direction right now because I am directionally challenged. But say California is that way, and I'm going to go to California, and I can have that little red dot, like that little, like, red dot that shows on Siri or shows on your Google Maps or whatever. I can have that in my head and kind of know, like, where. So I've been trying to do this. This is a skill I've been trying to improve, right? In real life. It's working. I've been trying to visualize, okay, over there, there's the dot, follow the dot, right? And I can, like, follow that dot in my head. Like, I know it's this direction. I'm going north. I have to go northeast. Like, I'm going to, not to California from New York, but I'm going to go in this direction or this direction,
Mhm.
right? You can get there. If you could do that, you can get there to your destination, but it's not going to be the right way. Or you might say, I want to go to a beach. Let's get in the car and go to a beach. No, you're going to pop into your GPS where you're going. You're setting your
Mhm.
end destination before you ever travel. And the way that I like to talk about it in the goal planning session, you're setting the destination that you want to travel to, and you're figuring out what you need to pack. Okay. And what you need to pack is going to be the things that worked for you before to help you reach that goal. So if you are really good at social media marketing using YouTube and that's been working, you're going to pack that to reach your goal. If you have tried to get verified on WeChat for 7 months, you're not going to pack that. you know and then you're also going to stop at the store and grab some snacks, and stop at the store and grab some nourishments, grab the things that you need, grab some water, right? You're going to stop and you're going to pick up along the way the things that you need to fuel yourself to this goal. You're going to stop and pick up along the way trainings that are going to help you teach you how to use YouTube. You're going
Mhm.
to fuel up along the way. At each mile marker, you're going to stop and you're going to fuel up, and you're going to take a break, look at it, review where you're going, look at your map again, and figure out if you're still on the right track. So it really is like a map, and you really do need to set your destination before you can just, you know.
And put the things that weren't working in the trash on the rest stops on the way.
They
Mhm.
might be useful later, though. They might be useful later.
I am not one of those. I'm one of those people that will
Thing.
just junk it.
There is nothing you can be a hoarder if you want to. Okay, it's gonna take you more gas to get there though. But there's nothing, if I'm packing to go on my trip and I pack swimsuits um to go to Alaska, which actually that's a really bad example because one of my favorite swimsuits I bought in Alaska because I had to buy it there. Okay, actually a good example. I didn't pack swimsuits to go to Alaska. Okay.
Why would
I
you?
could I hot springs. They have hot springs there. When
Ah,
I was in the Navy, that was one of the places we did. We did red flag, green flag, and the phase in
Navy?
Alaska.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've missed some of the story.
Well, I haven't told you my whole life here, but yeah, so like maybe I'm going to Alaska and I like initially pack a swimsuit and then I'm like, wait, I don't need this. I haven't used this the whole way and it's garbage, right? So I throw out the swimsuit. I can still pick up a swimsuit when I get closer and I realize I need it.
Right.
Same thing. Like if you're like, okay, well, WeChat's not working, I'm gonna scratch that. I'm gonna throw it in the trash for now and I'm not gonna worry about it. Well, then later on, maybe I realize, wait a second, something is working now that wasn't before. I can pick up WeChat again. Every single gas station is going to sell it there, right? It's still going to be there.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah.
Sure.
Good point.
All right. Now, do you have any questions for us?
Well, that's a new one. I
You
don't think
can
we've
say
ever asked
no.
that one.
You can say no if you want. That's okay.
Did you get me my donkey? No.
Yes, it's on the way. Stand by the mailbox waiting for it. I keep telling her she needs to bring in miniature donkeys with the goats. She won't do it though.
If I have a horse trailer, so maybe I should put this on my goal board here. If I have a horse trailer, or at least a little horse trailer that has like walls on it, I could get miniature donkeys and I could do like unicorn parties.
Oh, yes. I don't care
Unicorn
about the unicorn.
parties.
Yeah.
I cared about the unicorn. You know, when I was a kid, I wouldn't have cared about the unicorn. For some reason, as a 40-something-year-old woman, I'm like, unicorn parties.
Yeah. It is a really good idea. But I had donkeys. A couple of years ago, I helped a rescue out by taking in some of their donkeys that needed it. Actually, two donkeys and a pony. And we broke them. Breaking a horse means that you just train it to be ridden and calm and friendly. And we broke them, and they were, well, the one of them we couldn't because it was only two, but they were, my kids rode them, but they ended up just being really expensive lawn ornaments. And I told the rescue, can you take one? I don't want to pay for them anymore because they're really expensive.
All right. Okay. Well, Jillian, I really appreciated you coming on tonight. I felt like we gained a lot of knowledge and learned a lot about goal setting. And everybody, check in the comments below. There will be links to some of Jillian's services. And I would highly recommend you at least take 5 minutes just to check them out. And definitely join her groups. And the weekly coaching she does as a group is really worth your time. It's really worth your time. Thank you, Jillian.
Thank
Okay,
you so
thank you.
much.